Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Nancy, shall we start? Okay, so today I have a bunch of slides for you guys, so I'll try to make it a bit quicker so that I can go through all of them. But don't worry, if you miss any part, this webinar will be recorded. It's going to be uploaded on YouTube as well as on EnGenius Academy. As usual, any questions that you have, you can type it on chat or you can use the Q&A function under Zoom. So let me go ahead. So today's solution update is, there's a lot. So we have updates for the cloud. We have updates for EnGenius Fit. We have updates for access point switches and the gateways as well. Also later on, I'll be talking about SecuPoint, our SSL VPN solution using our EnGenius ESG cloud gateways as well as the XG60. So after that, Nancy will talk a bit about our promotions as well. So let me go ahead. Okay, so first big update that we have is under EnGenius Cloud. So we know right now that under EnGenius we have two solutions. We have EnGenius Fit and then we have EnGenius Cloud. So some clients want to utilize a cloud system. They want to utilize enterprise functions and features. So with a cloud, depending on what the client wants to use, utilize, and activate, they have a choice between the basic and pro license. For EnGenius Fit, there's no licensing at all. So this is good for SMB deployments, for SOHO deployments, even using FitXpress. So what if the client wants something on-prem like EnGenius Fit, but want to use EnGenius Cloud features as in EnGenius Cloud? So we have EPC, which is coming, if not end of this month, early next month, which would allow the clients to use the enterprise access points, the ECW access points, ECS switches, under an on-prem management system. So when I say on-prem, this can be hosted on the client's data center, it can be on their PC, it can be on a private cloud system, maybe through AWS or any other Linux backend system. So the main reason why we're launching EPC is for those kinds of clients. So there are a lot of clients who really want to use the enterprise functions, but they really have this requirement wherein their controller should be hosted either locally in the same country, in the same region, or hosted by themselves. So the EPC would help clients with that. For the EPC, just to talk about a bit of the difference between our controllers. So on the cloud side, again, we have EnGenius Cloud. This would allow you to have a limited number of devices, unlimited number of networks, and then you can have 5 admins. You have the full integration on the cloud. So essentially, it's the full-fledged system where the clients can utilize and customize as well. So we have the new on-prem version, which is EPC. Number of networks and organizations would still depend on the client, but because of the structure, it's currently limited by the hardware itself, the hardware or the system. If you're hosting this on Amazon or if you're hosting this on Google Cloud. So right now, EPC can handle about 3,000 devices. So that's a mix of APs and switches. So licensing, I'll talk about later on. For FitXpress, we still have FitXpress for SOHO clients, and then we have FitCon 100 for SMB clients, those who want a simple solution, but they still need a bit of customizations. So we have FitCon for that. So just to show it on a map for a more clearer view. So we have the Cloud Manage simple management interface FitXpress, where the clients can pick up the hardware, use their application, scan it, and start to run a system. So they can use this for cafes. They can manage it on their own, even without little to no training at all in terms of how you're gonna manage your devices. So clients under FitXpress can manage up to 30 devices. So that's per network, and then per account under FitXpress, they can create up to 8. So essentially, you can have 240 devices on a FitXpress account. If the client needs more customization, that's where the Fit Controller comes in. So Fit Controller can be plug and play on any system. So you can power this up using any PoE switch. You can manage up to 100 devices. So if it's a corporate client, I think it's more than enough. Clients would be able to customize, individualize the settings on each of the SSIDs. If they need advanced functions, Fit Controller has that. So this is good for on-prem as well. So EnGenius Cloud has always been there. So this is our top end category for our wireless solution, wireless and wired. So we have the EnGenius Cloud ecosystem. We have the access points that you can manage. We have basic and pro functions depending on the client needs. And then EnGenius Private Cloud would fall a bit below that. So here we have the VM-based system as well, Linux-based. So the clients can install this themselves. We have 3,000 devices for management. One nice thing about EPC is that you can also unlock pro features with the EPC. So licensing-wise, if the client just needs on-prem deployment using EnGenius Cloud devices, they can use EPC for free. If they need to use, for example, pro functions like what we have in the cloud, then we have licensing available for EPC as well. So again, if the client just need basic functions, basic features for EnGenius Cloud but on-prem, we have the EPC as is. They can just install it on their own. And then if they need advanced features and functions similar to what we have under EnGenius Cloud Pro, then we have the Pro licensing as well. So in the long run, we'll be adding more options as well, such as automatic backup system. We have high availability solutions as well. Because imagine the client will be deploying this on-prem. So, but if what if he still wants like some sort of redundancy? So essentially, they'll be able to run through two EPC simultaneously, and then it has an automatic high availability system. So even if one EPC system goes down, the other one would automatically act as your primary server. So like with the cloud, we also have the MSP system available under the EPC as well. So if the client wants to manage multiple orgs, let's say he wants to designate multiple team members, delegate members at once on specific networks, different orgs, so he can still run that. So it's more of a modular system for EPC. So it really depends on what the client needs. Again, this one serves clients who need an on-prem deployment but wants to use enterprise functions and enterprise radios as well as switches for the cloud system. By the way, if you need more information about EPC, if you want to know how to install it, you can freely approach our distributors or our regional sales team as well. So next update is towards the access point system. So in terms of authentication, we have added LDAP options. For example, Active Directory, Windows Active Directory, Google Workplace LDAP. We have Azure AD as well. So the current version of our Azure AD also works in an LDAP format. So that means if the client wants to use Azure AD for their authentication for wireless, they're going to need another component under Azure, which is called Azure AD-DS or Directory Services. So not all clients would subscribe to DS. So we want to make it simpler for them. So recently, Azure, if I'm not mistaken, they're now called Microsoft Entra ID. So it's similar to how Azure AD SAML works, or Azure AD SSO. So what this means is that for the administrator, they no need to subscribe to Azure AD domain services. Directly, he can choose Azure AD SAML, SAML, and then from there log on using their admin accounts, and directly from EnGenius Cloud, they can authenticate through Azure. So for example, your database for Microsoft, when the clients log into their PCs, to their tablets, your administrator would have their different policies per client group or per client configuration. So through Azure AD, they can have single sign-on on the wireless system. So any policy that you apply on their PCs would also reflect on any of their BOID units. So if they bring a phone, if they bring a laptop, if they bring another tablet, and then they connect to the same wireless system, so they can log in as well using the same sign-in. And of course, their policies will be applied as well. So for Azure AD SAML, so this one would be available by end of April. You just have to make sure that the firmware is updated to the latest version. So for the APs that are compatible with Azure AD SAML, it's available for all the units that we have under the cloud. So another benefit, a huge benefit when using Azure AD deployment is that you can have a separate MFA or multi-factor authentication or 2FA. So a lot of our clients have been requesting to have another form of security or a secondary security after they log into the wireless system. So through Azure AD SAML, you'd be able to use Microsoft Authenticator, From there, you'd have a secondary security. So this would avoid or decrease hacking into the networks, hacking into the system using this type of technology. Again, availability for Azure AD SAML support would be by end of April. So another improvement in terms of security is RADSec support in terms of custom radius usage. So in the past, when we do WPA3 or WPA2 Enterprise, or when we use custom radius at their captive portal, the radius communication is mainly transmitting in plain text. So clients who are logical enough in terms of having a bit of knowledge into sniffing packets over your wireless data might still be able to hack in and get the username and password of that radius database. So RADSec would allow you to apply encryption over your radius authentication so that it secures communication back and forth between the clients authenticating and when they can authenticate to your radius server. So this would allow, again, another encryption so that nobody can easily hack and sniff the usernames and logins that are stored under your radius server. So RADSec also allows us to apply open roaming system for our wireless system. So that means open roaming is currently being used in the European regions. So this would allow clients, maybe mobile operators, telcos, campus deployments to freely use a single SSID between their deployments, so long as they have the same backend system. So for instance, they log into their campus and then they move to a different unit, they move to a different facility, so they can still log on using the same services. So RADSec would allow us to incorporate open roaming as well. So availability for RADSec would be by the end of this month. Hopefully there's no delays. So that would be from firmware version 1.x.75. Yeah, so we'll also be expanding MyPSK. Currently, for MyPSK, you can generate 1,000 MyPSK users. But for most campus deployments, that's not enough per network. So imagine if it's a big university, definitely they're going to need more than 1,000 PSKs. So for MyPSK entries on the next expansion by end of April, each access point can handle 5,000 MyPSK entries per network. So just a quick refresher, MyPSK is our solution if the client needs, let's say, a single SSID, but each user or each client would have their own PSK or pre-shared key. So when the client connects to your access point with that same SSID, it can also be placed onto different VLANs. So it works hand in hand with dynamic VLAN as well. So for example, faculty, when they log in using their own credentials, they'll be placed on VLAN 40, and then the students will be placed on VLAN 30, etc. So this can be across your whole network, across the different access points that you have, even if you're working only on a single SSID. So this makes it a lot easier in terms of the UX when the clients connect to your system. You just have to tell them, or you just have to tell everyone you can connect here. The backend system would work the system out. Like this person would be on this VLAN, etc. So MyPSK can work with whitelisting as well. So for example, you only want to specify the school-provided computers or school-provided laptops to associate using the MyPSK entry. So we can whitelist those devices as well, so that they won't be able to log in using any other device that they just bring in. So again, the MyPSK expansion would happen around end of April. Well, recently we also added the allow list or the whitelisting on the system. So in the past, we have the block list and then we have the VIP list. So now a lot of our clients have been requesting whitelisting as well. So in general, whitelisting would allow you to whitelist specific devices to connect to your SSID, and then the rest would be blocked out. So this is very useful in high secure environments, controlled environments, wherein they really only allow these devices to connect on your system. Maybe banks, maybe military areas. So let's say they only allow this provided device to connect to the Wi-Fi system. Any other person who tries to connect using their phone or their laptop or alternate tablet would be totally blocked off. So this is available right now, and it's available under the ACL rule. So the client access control, you can select whether your default rule is set to deny or allow.
And then from there, you can customize your allowing block list. So for the number of entries that you can create per SSID would be 100 for basic and 1,000 MAC addresses for Pro. So that's you can have 1,000 for block list and 1,000 for the allow list under the Pro license. We've also modified the way that we have the auto channel. So we have the auto channel that works when the AP is rebooted. And then we have DCS, or dynamic channel selection, in which you can set an interval on when the access point will scan those channels. But the channel selection is actually based on our system, our AP ourselves. The auto channel enhancement, what's going to happen is that you can select which specific channel your AP will choose between your auto channel selection. So for example, here I selected channels 159 and 13 under 2.4. So if the access point triggers auto channel, either by DCS or by rebooting the unit, then it's only going to choose between 159 and 13. So this is very useful if you have a lot of APs or if you really know which channels are causing interference in an area. Let's say you want your AP to avoid channel 2, you want to avoid channel 6, so you can remove that from your auto channel selection. Auto channel selection is available for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and that's also available right now. So on the system. So this option right here can be found under the radio settings. So access point and then radio settings. For the Wi-Fi 7 access points, ECW536 and ECW526 4x4 and 2x2, we have a multi-link operation. So MLO, just a refresher for everyone, multi-link operation would allow you to connect. If your device is running Wi-Fi 7, let's say you have a Wi-Fi 7 mobile phone, Wi-Fi 7 laptop, this would allow you to connect to two radios at the same time. So let's say 2.4 and 5 gig, or 5 and 6 gig, or 2.4 and 6 gig. So you would have two simultaneous connections on an access point, which would increase your throughput tenfold, as well as reduce latency a lot. So MLO can be toggleable on and off on the system to save battery life. Just imagine if you connect to multiple radios at the same time, this would consume a lot of battery on your end device, mobile phone, tablets, laptops, so long as it supports Wi-Fi 7. So it depends on the company whether they would allow MLO or not. So this would freely allow the administrator to toggle it under the SSID profile. So this is also available right now already. If you have our Wi-Fi 7 models, you can already have this option toggle. For FitXpress, we're also adding an update by the end of March, end of this month. This would allow you to do basic AP website filtering. So essentially, this would allow you to block URLs, block or allow certain URLs depending on what you want to do on the system. Maybe if you have a cafe and then you want to block heavy video consuming pages, so you can block them from the list. Or if it's a campus, you want to block certain websites, you can freely do that from the system. So this is supported directly on the access point to give clients flexibility in terms of managing their networks. So this would also be available on all the APs under FitXpress as well. So for the EnGenius Cloud SD-WAN series for our ESG gateways, we'll also be adding policy routing. So policy routing is very useful if you have application or WAN sensitive applications you use. Maybe bank applications or critical servers that needs to communicate or utilize only a single WAN. So maybe you're using dual WAN for load balancing or failover, but you want a specific app to use a specific port going towards one of your WAN links only to maintain connection if you're using cloud systems as well. So policy routing would be available by end of March. So this will be added as part of the ESG options as well. So from there, you can specify your source, destination IPs, and your preference WAN links for usage. So this would help a lot in terms of corporate applications, those that really need to use a single WAN IP or a single public IP. So to avoid disconnections and to maintain a stable connection. So that will be included by end of March. Firewall logs will also be applied on the ESG gateways because a lot of regions or a lot of clients have been requesting to have those systems in place. So this would be available through an export to the syslog server. Essentially, all the firewall traffic, source, destination, MAC address, in and out, as well as the ports used, public and private IPs, would all be logged under your syslog server. You can enable or disable this on the system, but we won't store this log on the ESG or on our cloud system for GDPR or for privacy. So everything would be only sent to your log server if you enable the gateway firewall log option. So again, this syslog server enhancement will be available by end of March for all the ESG models. You've also added more tools for the ESG gateway. So right now you can do ping test, trace route, you can check your CPU information. You can also now capture packets, WAN packets, using some sort of a wireless, like a Wireshark capturing system. So from here, you can set the duration, you can set the filters, what you want to capture. If you want to monitor the ins and outs of your WAN ports, you want to see whether something on your system is sending out traffic somewhere. So you'll be able to instantly do a packet capture from the system and read that data through Wireshark. So this enhances our diagnostic tools so that you'll be able to have more information in terms of troubleshooting. So one WAN packet capture for the ESG gateways is available right now as well under the diagnostic tools. We also have DNS available as well when running pass-through mode. So in the past, if you're using pass-through mode, your DNS would be disabled. So under the ESG, we have two options, routed and pass-through. Routed means your ESG gateway, your SD-WAN, would act as a DHCP server for your clients who connect to your ESG. If you have, let's say, an existing gateway, maybe you have an ISP provided modem or router, and then you just need a VPN function on our ESG gateway. So you can use pass-through mode so that you wouldn't have to reconfigure your network. You don't have to configure the HTTP server, your IP addressing. You just basically just need VPN service. So that's when you use pass-through mode. So you can still use the backend provided ISP modem or router. So with the DNS enabled using pass-through mode, this would allow you to use our VPN functions if you're using if your ISP is providing dynamic IP. Let's say you did not subscribe to a static IP address from your ISP and you want to utilize VPN services. So this can give you more freedom in terms of deploying VPN services. So this would apply for site-to-site VPN, IPsec VPN, or SSL VPN as well, including SecuPort. So DNS pass-through DNS enabled under pass-through mode is available right now. For the XG60, our gateway for FitXpress, we also added the option to enable website filtering as well. So maybe some of you are wondering, so what's the difference? I already have website filtering on my Fit access point. So what do we need it on my XG50 as well? So for the Fit access points, if you do website filtering, of course that would affect your wireless clients. Whereas for the website filtering under the XG60, the gateway that we have under FitXpress, your wired clients would be affected as well by your website filtering. So XG60 can filter wired traffic to prevent them from accessing URLs or allow them to access specific URLs. Of course, your wireless APs connected there or any other device connected to your XG60 would have this function pass through website filtering. Whereas if you apply website filtering on the Fit access points, only the wireless clients would be filtered. Your wired clients would not be affected. So this is also coming by end of March on the next update for next season. For the switch side, we have added a wired client list. So this is something huge because I haven't seen this on any other brand, even on the biggest brand in the market. So if in order to, like, for example, see what's plugged in your switch, like what's the MAC address, what's the IP address, what's the VLAN, what's their upload and download traffic. Usually you would have to pull in multiple CLI commands just to view those information. And then you'd have to manually combine them together in order to see, okay, port one has this client, this is the MAC address, he's being connected for um, an hour ago, and then it's connected using VLAN 106. His IP address is blah blah blah. So usually this has to be manually gathered by somebody and then compiled to have this information. So under EnGenius Cloud, this function is also available right now. So you'd be able to see under your clients list, there's a new tab called Wired Clients. From there, you'd be able to see that information. So the information that you can see from here are, again, clients who are connected directly on your ECS switches, or let's say they're connected through an IP phone. So most IP phones would have two LAN ports. The IP phone would be connected to your switch, and then maybe another PC connected to that IP phone. So in that situation, you'll be able to view your IP phone plus the PC that's connected to the phone as well. So this information is very, very useful for monitoring or troubleshooting as well. This is available right now. Just make sure that your switch is updated to version 1.2.85, or if you're using the ECS 5000 series, 5512F, 5512, and 5512FP, version 2.2.15. So again, you can view wired clients that are connected directly on your ECS switch, or connected through IP phones connected on the ECS switch. PDUs. I think we haven't really discussed much about PDUs, but coming later this year, in a couple of months, we are launching the EnGenius Power Distribution Units. So PDUs in general give power to a unit. Yeah, it's like a think of it as a smart, intelligent AI-powered extension cord, wherein you can use for they uses for racks, rack mounting, in which you can monitor everything that's plugged into your outlet. So PDUs, so these are cloud-based PDUs, which again you can monitor on EnGenius Cloud. From here, you can see what's plugged in your outlet. You can label them. You can see the current voltage and power usage. You can do smart things that you can do with a PDU. For example, if you want to auto reboot a port at a certain time, you want to set thresholds in which the port will shut off if it reached a certain voltage or something. So this can happen under the EnGenius Cloud PDUs. I'll give more information about our PDUs, our cloud PDUs, once we get closer to the launch. But yeah, so these are some of the things that you can do. So you can do, of course, monitoring. You can do diagnostic tools as well. You can do schedule reboot. You can do auto reboot. You can set up alerts. If, for example, your device consumes X amount of power, if you want to be alerted through Cloud to Go, so that can happen as well. Most importantly, everything is running on the same cloud ecosystem. So you'd be able to monitor your PDUs from there. You'd be able to get alerts from the same system, and you can view everything from there. So the PDUs are wired. So they'll be connected through Ethernet so that you can have them monitor on the cloud system. And they can be connected through EnGenius Cloud to Go app as well. So availability for the EPC or the EnGenius Cloud PDUs would be by end of March for the first model, which is a 6-port model, and then end of July for a dual stack or a bigger model. So more information again would be provided for EnGenius Cloud PDU towards the launch. Okay, so before moving towards EnGenius SecuPoint, our VPN SSL solution, let me go through some of your questions first. Just a minute. Yeah, I think some questions have already been addressed by Nancy. Thank you for that. There's one question about website blocking. So can we block website based on categories? So I think what you're asking is, can we block something based on, for example, social media category? So that means Facebook, Instagram, the rest of the social media platforms would be automatically blocked.
So currently, our content filtering or website blocking is based on the actual URL. So, for example, you want to block Facebook.com, but you want to allow Facebook.com/ your company brand. So you can do that right now through a mix of whitelist and block listing. Maybe in the future we can think about it, if whether we can allow, like, for example, a category website based on categories. Just one risk on that is that some websites register their own categories. For example, they list themselves as educational, but it's a different website altogether. So, but yeah, for now, our solution is to do it on a specific URL. So again, if, for example, you want to block YouTube or Facebook or other bandwidth consuming websites or security sensitive websites, so you can either whitelist or blacklist them. Okay, so let me proceed with Ingenious SecuPoint. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Thank you. Yeah, so EnGenius SecuPoint. EnGenius SecuPoint is our VPN solution over the traditional networks. So SecuPoint is essentially client VPN connection, but it makes it really simple for the administrator plus the client who's connecting to use SecuPoint. So it can compete with the vendors in the market because I've tried a lot of client VPN software, even if they're like two, three, four-step solution. Usually, you would need to go through multiple troubleshooting or multiple configurations first before you can finally establish your VPN connection. So essentially, what EnGenius aims for SecuPoint is a very simple solution for managing your users, as well as for user experience as well, once they connect to your VPN solution. So SecuPoint, again, traditional VPN, let's say, for example, traditional IPsec VPN. If I am a client device and want to connect to my remote office, what I need to do first is, of course, configure my hardware, meaning my VPN server. Maybe it's software based, maybe it's hardware based. From there, I need to configure my ports, what I want to use for my VPN connection, my encryption. If I have multiple staff that want to connect to my system, maybe I would need to check what kind of licenses is applicable, does my box support it, etc. So for SecuPoint VPN for EnGenius, it's as simple as configuring two steps. You just have to create a user and enable SecuPoint VPN. So the rest is already there. So for the end user side, for the client who will connect to your gateway, they just need to download the software from EnGenius and key in their username, password, plus your DNS or your IP address, and that's it. So right now, the platforms that we support for SecuPoint are Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android as well. So we try to have all the platforms to make sure that they can connect your gateway for easy reach and scalability for your users as well. So for SecuPoint, again, the main components are your SecuPoint VPN server, which is the ESG gateway. So all our ESG gateways support SecuPoint. One thing nice is that our X360 also supports SecuPoint, the X360 under FitXpress. So you have your VPN client tool, again, macOS, Windows, iOS, and Android support, and then your VPN license. Later on, I'll talk more about that. So for the SecuPoint VPN server, so this is your ESG gateway. So right now, this is already available. All you need to do, if you have an ESG gateway, is go to your gateway settings and then go to Client VPN. Under Client VPN, you'll be presented with two tabs. First is IPsec, your traditional client VPN connection. So if you want to do things manually, you can still enable IPsec. You can enable SecuPoint simultaneously, by the way, if you have different use case for your setup. And then under SecuPoint, once you enable it, your host name or your DDNS would be presented right away. DDNS is free, by the way, for EnGenius gateways. So EnGenius XG gateways have their DDNS enabled by default. For the cloud, you just have to key in your preferred DDNS host name or your preferred DDNS name. And then from there, once you hit apply, that would already be active. So once that's configured, you set up your protocols. By default, these are also automatically filled in as well. So you have your IP address if you have a preferred one, DNS servers if you want to configure it. By default, you have options as well there. Client routing, whether you want split tunnel or full tunnel. Full tunnel means when a client connects to your system using client VPN or using SecuPoint, all their internet services, all their data goes through your ESG gateway first before going out to the web. Some clients don't want to do that, mainly to conserve bandwidth and also for privacy. Let's say you have remote staff, you don't really need all their data going through your hub. You just need them to access your server. Maybe it's remote marketing team. You want them to access something from the NAS. You don't really want all their files to go back and forth to minimize bandwidth consumption in the area as well. So you can do split tunneling for that. In split tunneling, only connections going to specific hosts under the network would be allowed. So internet traffic will still have local breakout, meaning those remote clients will still use their own internet service for other things. So they only connect to your server for when they connect to your hosts. So that can be configured on the system. And then finally, security. So authentication type, you can choose if you have an external server or you can just use the ESG VPN for the connection. For the second point tool, again, it's available for Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android. Once you have downloaded the software and installed it on the system or from your phone, you have an option to add your connection. So when you add a connection, you just have to list down the server, which is provided by your admin. Maybe that's your DNS, or if you're using static IP, your IP address. And then once you hit connect, your username and password. So username and password is generated from the cloud, from the ESG as well. So this will be provided by the administrator. So once they have created their username and password, they'll be able to connect and establish the connection anytime. So from there, they can also monitor the statistics, whether what type of tunneling is created, what's the duration of the connection, what's your client IP, DNS servers, how much traffic have you sent back and forth, and your current throughput. So it's very simple but very useful information that you can quickly see. So everything can be checked right away. So if you need any assistance, if for example you have trouble connecting, then the administrator can assist you right away because all the information that you need will be presented with the logs as well. So in terms of the licenses, each ESG hardware comes with 2 free seats for the VPN user. That means if I have, let's say, an ESG 510, I get 2 SecuPoint VPN seats. Those seats are for SecuPoint. Maybe some of you are wondering, what if I'm using IPsec? Do I need licensing? So no. So for IPsec, the manual configuration type of VPN or client VPN solution, you don't need any licenses for that. The catch is that you're gonna have to manually set up everything. Whereas for SecuPoint, it's automated and it's very simple to use. So here, for every ESG 510, 610, 620, and future ESGs that we launch, they would always come with 2 free VPN clients for life. So long as you have a connection there, it's based on the number of users as well. So for example, 2 users connect and then one disconnects, another one connects again. So you can have those simultaneous 2 connections at the same time. It doesn't matter how many users you create, so long as it's they only connect 2 at the same time for the free VPN users. So that should be more than enough for most companies. But of course, some corporate clients would need maybe more seats. They would need 20 seats, 30 seats. So that's where additional license can come in. So the license is based on users, like how many users have logged on the same time, and they can freely switch between different ESGs as well. For the licenses for the VPN, um, it depends on what type of package you bought. For example, maybe you bought a 20-seat license, and then later on you bought 10-seat license. So the system will just cross check how many seats are available, how many are connected right now, and then the system will determine, okay, this is the amount of users that can still connect on my system. You can easily add and remove licenses as well, just like what we have with the EnGenius Cloud Pro licenses. So that means they can be purchased in bulk, they can be added anytime in bulk, and once they expire, it's up to you whether you need to add or withhold from renewing those licenses. So right now, for the SecuPoint VPN licenses, what's available is a 1-year license or a 3-year license, And then it would depend on how many users you require for the number of seats. So again, for the number of seats for the licenses, this would depend on how many simultaneous connections there are. Each hardware can also support a maximum number of users. For example, 510 can handle 300 users for your SecuPoint connections simultaneous. So we also have an option for bigger clients. Let's say they really need huge amount of um, clients to connect using client VPN. Maybe most of their workforce are remote. Maybe they're scattered across different regions or different countries. So let's say this end user purchased 100 VPN licenses, and then they have maybe three different ESGs across their orgs. So you can have an option to share the licenses associated to each ESG to be shared across the rest of your ESGs on the network. So maybe you have multiple branches and then you bought licenses for ESG1. So essentially that can be shared across ESG2 and ESG3 and so on and so forth. So long as they are managed under the same organization. So when it comes to licensing, it's still flexible under EnGenius. So you don't need to purchase, for instance, 300 licenses total for your three different ESGs. So all you need to do is purchase 100 seats for ESG one, and then from there you can create replica licenses for the rest of the ESGs that you have, in order to share the maximum number of users. Maybe your 100 staff wouldn't really connect to all your ESG simultaneously. Maybe you have 20 at a time, or maybe they would only associate to one ESG at a time, depending on the company structure. So you can share your VPN licenses across your managed ESGs. For the XG60, for our gateway under FitXpress, so Nancy will be sharing more information on our promotion later on in terms of SecuPoint. But yeah, SecuPoint for ESG is almost the same as SecuPoint on the XG60. The clients can connect anytime on any of your ESGs, and you can also create different firewall rules, which would affect your SecuPoint clients. For example, when a SecuPoint client connects, you want them to only access a specific host, specific server, and you want to block them off from any other servers that's in your network. So the IT manager can configure your ESG so that they can only access certain ports or certain specific applications on the network. So maybe you just want to allow NAS access. You want to allow them to access a company software remotely, and prevent them from accessing anything else. So that can be customized and applied on your set users as well. Okay, so before I pass over to Nancy, any other questions, guys? Let me go through chat real quick. Okay, so there are a bunch of questions on the Q&A. Let me go through them. Can we block website based on categories? I think I already went through that. Regarding website filtering, can it block social media apps and phones too? For the Fit series, you'd be able to block URLs, but you wouldn't be able to block specific apps yet. So we have an upcoming update by April for the cloud gateways, which would allow you to block specific applications as well. So on the next update, focus on the gateway series. I'll be talking more about what enhancements we have for security. Any QoS coming for ESGs, example, prioritize voice traffic and other particular subnets. So yes, we plan on updating our system as well for ESG, especially when we release our policy routing. So we plan on updating or enhancing our QoS system as well, so that you can modify, for example, maybe specific traffic for certain applications. So we're still working on it. We'll make an announcement once we come closer to the launch as well. Can users authenticate their SecuPoint VPN via Azure AD? Um, are you asking about the actual SecuPoint authentication, or once a client connects to your ESG, you want them to connect to Azure AD as well? May you please verify? Thank you. Another question is, can the SecuPoint licenses be shared across different orgs as an MSP? So at the moment, the SecuPoint licensing we have can be shared under the same organization. But let me check with the team whether this can be shared as well through different orgs under the MSP management. But I think we need to check on that because right now for the access points, the licensing is shared still, or it's still locked on its own organization. So most likely the second point works that way as well. Maybe in the future, when we enhance our MSP portal as well. Okay, so actual second point authentication for the user, can it be done through Azure AD? So right now we can do a custom login, like when we redirect them on a specific Radius server, but not through Azure AD yet. So if you have a requirement that requires your second point clients or remote clients, when they establish VPN, you want them to authenticate using Azure AD. So I can raise this as a request to our team and check whether it's feasible or not. But yeah, thank you for bringing up this option as well. Okay, one question here: is there support for SecuPoint VPN with MFA login? So we're planning on that in the future, but it's not gonna be available straight away after launch. But maybe sometime later this year. So once we launch SecuPoint, it's actually already launched. I'm sorry. Well, since SecuPoint is already launched, when the client authenticates, they'd be able to log in using the usernames and passwords provided by the administrator, which is they create on the system. So in the future, we plan to implement MFA as well for SecuPoint. Okay, if no further questions, also with the EnGenius Cloud updates, Nancy, you might want to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Milo. So thank you everyone for turning up. We have a great turn up today. So my name is Nancy. I'm the product manager. There's some exciting news that I'm gonna announce today on a promotion that we have with the launch of XG 60 feet. Now this is a gateway that's gonna launch in April. So it's gonna be shipped out and it'll be available in your region very soon. So some of them may be available by end of April. So with the SG 60 feet, you are able to get hold of this offer. So there's 1 year free SecuPoint VPN, unlimited seats for 1 whole year. So this is a really great offer where you could make use of to offer to your clients and offer up your value added services. And also we give 3 months online support with the FitXpress app. So you could get the support from engineers directly, from the team of engineers from our side to give you the support. So this is a great support from our team of engineers, right? Other than that, I'd just like to highlight what will be coming up for webinars. If you are interested, you could sign up with us. It's all available in the Engineers Academy. So coming up, we will have a webinar on our latest outdoor broadband solution, which caters to outdoor point-to-point, point-to-multi-point deployments. So this is something that is exciting for a lot of MSPs or wireless ISPs who are unable to reach out to remote areas or rural areas or to run fiber to some remote areas. So this is one of the most important solution that we're going to launch most probably by end of April. And then in May, we're going to announce our Cloud Managed PDU. Please join us on the 3rd of May for this webinar. So power distribution has been a concern for a lot of organizations now because power cost is going up everywhere. So it makes more sense to manage your power distribution, especially when you are talking about infrastructure. And then, of course, just now what Milo have highlighted, we do have the option of the on-prem private cloud, which will add on to your options of managing your services for your clients. So clients who have concerns on having their network statistics over the internet, they could opt for on-prem options from our MSPs, from our partners. So please join us on the 8th of May for EPC's detailed solution briefing. All right. Is there any more questions? So this webinar will be recorded and will be uploaded on our EnGenius Academy. So please take note. And the offer for XG60 feet, all right, it will be available now. As long as you can get all of SG60, you could turn on this offer. So Milo, do you have anything to add before we end this webinar?
Yes. One reminder regarding the free license for EnGenius Cloud. Because right now, when we register an EnGenius Cloud device, the free trial license for Pro functions would last 1 year from registration. But do take note that starting May 1st onwards, the trial would be shortened to 3 months for the EnGenius Cloud trial license. So that means any device registered under EnGenius Cloud, any new device, would have 1 year free trial until the end of April. So afterwards, from May 1st onwards, it's going to be 3 months. So just to give you guys a heads up.
Yes. So this SG60 bundling with Circuit Point VPN offers will end at end of June. So you still have time to grab hold of this promotion. All right. Thank you for your turn up. I hope you have a good week ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Hope to see you again